Good morning, dear Dharma friends. June 20th, 21st, I think. June 21st, by a popular way of counting. I think this is a bit off. There we go. How lovely to see your familiar faces. Oh, solstice today, my goodness. Well, it's all downhill from here. Yeah. Solstice. We actually had a sunny day here in Portland yesterday. It was quite lovely. Went for a walk. The garden's still too soggy to plant anything, interestingly. Well, that was the music of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, the recently deceased Qawwali singer from Pakistan. I took my kids to see him, but the final time he came on tour, and they didn't like it at all. My first wife and I also took them to see Ravi Shankar because he was so important to us, and they slept through it, the whole thing. But they were there. So I have a poem for us this morning. I want to put on the record. I'm live to Facebook and YouTube already. And this
Recording in progress.
There we go. And before I do that, I'd just like to express my admiration and gratitude for your presence. It is very strengthening, isn't it? You notice how Sangha, how friends on the path are of such magnificent importance. And thank you, dear Jim, for your stalwart presence. Sorry for the hassle with this channel last night. I kept trying to get on, and it wouldn't work. All right, and then I finally thought,
it was kind of fun kicking you off.
What's that?
It was kind of fun kicking you off.
Well, I'll get you back. I mean, don't worry. All right, this is very small print. This is a poem. I read this just a few months ago to the group, but it's such a beauty. It's by Shodo Harada Roshi, who is in his early 80s, I would say now, Japanese Zen master. He's the teacher of Hogen and Chozen Beis here in Portland, the founders and lead teachers of the Zen community of Oregon. In this passing moment, karma ripens, and all things come to be. I vow to choose what is. If there is cost, I choose to pay. If there is need, I choose to give. If there is pain, I choose to feel. If there is sorrow, I choose to grieve. When burning, I choose heat. When calm, I choose peace. When starving, I choose hunger. When happy, I choose joy. Whom I encounter, I choose to meet. What I shoulder, I choose to bear. When it is my death, I choose to die. Where this takes me, I choose to go. Being with what is, I respond to what is. This life is as real as a dream. The one who knows it cannot be found. And truth is not a thing, therefore I vow to choose this Dharma entrance gate. May all Buddhas and wise ones help me live this vow. In this passing moment, karma ripens and all things come to be. I vow to choose what is. If there is a cost, I choose to pay. If there is need, I choose to give. If there's pain, I choose to feel. If there's sorrow, I choose to grieve. When burning, I choose heat. When calm, I choose peace. When starving, I choose hunger. When happy, I choose joy. Whom I encounter, I choose to meet. What I shoulder, I choose to bear. When it is my death, I choose to die. Where this takes me, I choose to go. Being with what is, I respond to what is. This life is as real as a dream. The one who knows it cannot be found. The one who knows it cannot be found. And truth is not a thing. Therefore, I vow to choose this Dharma entrance gate. May all Buddhas and wise ones help me live this vow. This life is as real as a dream. The one who knows it cannot be found. So, my dear friends in the dream, let us sit comfortably upright. Let's be present for the show that occurs at the mind, in the body, at the sense doors, the great mystery of consciousness, of presence, of that which knows, blazes at us. Let us gather around the life-giving fire of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Right here. Not practicing for some future reward. However this heart, mind, body, being is, let us choose it. Let us fully incarnate into this moment. This moment. as predictable as anything in the world. While we're alive, as long as we're alive, there is this breathing in and breathing out. Why not choose to be present with the breath? Or perhaps choose to be present with the entirety of the body, the hands and feet and face and breath. choosing this moment again and again and again. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. The great way is not difficult for those who are not overly identified with their preferences. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. To know oneness, simply cease to cherish opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. And so we are here, in this moment, choosing this Dharma gate. These arising and passing hindrances, this coming and going of the breath, this silence punctuated by this voice. observing the nature of the selfing process. Liking this, disliking that. Now I shall plan how to get this pleasure and get rid of that displeasure. Noticing the natural falling into trances. Primary among them, the trance of I. This is my opinion. This is my story. I'm going to prepare for this or prepare for that. I feel outrage because of this. I feel fear because of that. I, me, mine, mine. And somehow we are potentiated by the teachings of the Buddha. Mindful, aware, awake. I choose this Dharma gate, this mood, these sensations, this sound, these thoughts. And I don't choose them to pull them on as clothing of identity. I choose them so as to know that they exist as they do. If the mind becomes engaged in something else, something that needs to be done, some research, inner or outer, there's a choice. Shall I engage in that little project, or could I just let it be? That for this brief few moments, there's nothing to achieve. There's really just this Dharma gate of in-breathing and out-breathing, of impulses toward thought and activity. It could be that there is discomfort present. Discomfort of body, discomfort of mind, discomfort emotionally. Maybe discomfort provoked by relationship issues or having peeked at the news, fear. Seeing this all as what it is, it all occurs in mind. No need to avoid it. We just look with eyes, with heart of compassion. Whenever, however, we discover pain or suffering in ourselves to begin with, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. May all beings benefit from the merits of our practice. May we rest in the beauty of our being, said Ruth Denison. Darling, rest in the beauty of your being. I want to do just one announcement this morning, which is that I will be here through Friday, and then I'll be gone over the weekend till Thursday morning. Jim and the other teachers will hold down the fort here. And there are still 2 places in the Brighton Bush retreat. If there's some way you can free up your schedule starting on Friday. The weather promises to be quite gorgeous, which would be really nice there. Very different when it's raining and cold and when it's warm and sunny in the woods. So, what are you knowing of the 10,000 things? Of the mysterious coming into being and going out of being?
Hello, Robert.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi there. I this particular teaching about choosing to be with what is, it's really, really difficult for me, and like I don't buy it, Basically, it feels like, is it just like I can see the trap of preferences, but I also feel like they don't really mean this literally, right? you know, like somebody's poking me with a stick. I choose to be poked. I don't know. There's just something so um and if what's happening is a response of no, then how come I can't just choose the no as what's happening? I don't know. It feels like every time I hear this teaching, I feel like if I heard somebody said, I just joined this new spiritual tradition and they're like, we don't have any preferences, I'd be like, oh, danger, danger. You got to trust your own a sense of what's good and what's wholesome and what's right. And, um, sort of like the only way to operate in the world is to have preferences and to, yes, examine them and question them and challenge them. But essentially, it's going to be nice weather at Brighton Bush. That's a preference. That'll make things nice. Why should we not? Why should we have to embrace the rain? I don't know.
There is, I recited the beginning of the Trust in the Heart Sutra, and I take some liberties with it. The published translation is, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences." And as a mammal, as simply as at that level, of course there are preferences. I prefer not to burn my hand. I prefer to seek food. I prefer to avoid danger. I prefer to protect my loved ones and others from assault. There are any number of preferences which really are essential for human civilization. And that's one tuning. It's the tuning of separateness. And that's the tuning that we are all capable of, to some degree or another, right? We are, God, oh dear, no, won't go there. So it really behooves us, I believe, to learn about our preferences and to choose our preferences and I think you said it really beautifully, to analyze them and check, is this a preference I should follow, or is this preference self-indulgent, or does it happen at the expense of others, or and so yes, by all means, let us develop our clarity of our preferences and our intentions to act, and then make our choices toward wholesome choices and not toward unwholesome choices. And what about when I'm lying in the ICU and I can't talk, and it looks like I'm dying? Or I'm at the bedside of my loved one and it looks like they're dying. Or having done everything I can, it appears as though a fascist regime is emerging in my world. What shall I do then? Shall I rail against it and be agitated and it shouldn't be like this? Or shall I perhaps have developed the capacity to open to that which predates, which underpins, which includes all the polarities and all the resistances? But shall I have the capacity to live in peace internally, no matter what's happening? And that's the spiritual training. Now, there's the side of it, which is I really want to learn how to manage my stress better. I really want to learn how to be more patient and kind and efficient. And I really want to learn how to see my own thinking and to understand the thinking of others around me. I want to see the impact that hatred has when it comes up in me. I want to see the impact that greed has when it comes up in me. And to become more and more responsible and effective as a citizen, as a lover, as a partner, as a parent. It's so interesting. There's that old Irish prayer that the AA world has made such great use of. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then the prayer goes on. It's quite a long prayer. But not many human beings develop the capacity to accept when things are really coming unglued. After we've done everything. And these teachings are not a non-active teaching, I think. I mean, we may well be called upon to put our lives on the line. That might happen. And however, if that does happen, how loving can we be while we're putting our lives on the line? How much kindness can we have? So it's this paradox. And paradoxes are unpleasant. And they can sound just absolutely stupid. And I must say, I think some of you, I've spoken with some of you, on Saturday morning I had this eruption of depression from, I think, medication interaction induced. And there I was in the blackness where I've spent some significant time in my life. And all this non-dual reality, it was so clear it's all absolutely bullshit. I mean, give me a break. This is the reality. This is really who I am. I've been deluded again. And so huge dollops of doubt as well. And not, oh yes, this is doubt. Everything's going to be fine. It was, oh no, right? All that feeling spacious and good about the world and so on, it's just really crap. And then that contraction of consciousness passed, and oh yes, right, it really is a paradox. I guess one other thing, which is that I think it was that day, sometime I sat for a long time, it might have been the day after, I don't remember. Another long sitting. It became so clear that all there is phenomena arising and passing away in consciousness. And there really is nothing to do. And both are true. How's that sound? I'm really wanting to validate that stance, that yes, we must be responsible. Well, Matt Flickstein puts it really beautifully. Let me see if I can remember. He's so succinct in his words. Well, this is an attempt. There's no one here. There's no choices to be made. There's no possibility of making any choices. Everything unfolds by itself. And you are responsible for every single action and intention that you make. And so we must become totally responsible for everything we say, do, and act. And to become impeccable in that is essential. How do you put those together? Well, you don't. They're a paradox. And I guess one other thread, that thing from Mark Twain that I keep quoting, it's funny, things get caught. He said something like, I didn't exist for 14 billion years, and now I'm here for these few breaths, and then I'm going to be gone for the next 15 billion years. Why worry about anything? So, however, during that few years that we're alive, it really behooves us to be to aspire toward impeccability, to aspire toward kindness and generosity, and not because it'll get us something in the future, but because the very doing of it feels so good. It's so relieving to be in integrity. So what do you think?
Well, that was a lot of different things. Um, I I feel like preferences, when examined and challenged, and personality and choices is, I think it's just essential. And the more that my personality comes apart and my preferences maybe don't become any less strong, but they become suspect in some ways. Um, I feel like I'm coming from a clearer, freer place. And I still rely on that sort of compass inside about what feels right and what doesn't. And
Absolutely.
I feel like I have to trust it or I'm totally without ground.
You have to trust the preferences or that which is capable of examining them and comparing them with your aspirations and your values.
The whole package.
The whole package. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
there would be nothing to examine if it weren't for the preferences, and the preferences on their own sure can't be always trusted.
Right.
So it's just every time I hear this teaching, it's like they're not serious about that, right? That's sort of like a story to get us to examine, to think about preference. They don't really mean like don't have any.
True. And hence I take that great liberty with that ancient teaching. The great way is not difficult for those who are not overly identified with their preferences. I mean, there are so many things that I want that I don't get. And I used to suffer a lot more than I do now. It's like, okay, so this is happening. It's I watch, when you watch a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, they are just all over the map with their preferences, right? One minute they love you because you've just given them something nice and they want it. And the next minute they would kill you if they could. And their rage is it's not fake. It's absolutely real. The psychoanalytic people call it the talionic rage. It's that's the rage that people kill each other out of. And it's so important that we learn. In order to go to school, we have to learn to temper our attachment to our preferences. I want this toy, and this other person has it. Okay, I'm just be a psychopath. I'm going to push this kid off the slide and take the toy. I mean, we learn to temper our preferences our whole lives, I think. I had how do I say this? I'll make it sort of hypothetical. Have you ever had an encounter or an ongoing relationship with a relative who behaved in ways that were really neither kind nor thoughtful nor very sensitive? And doesn't even need to be a relative. Could be a boss. Could be anybody. And you choose or need to be in relationship with that person despite the fact that they are not behaving in some significant ways as you would prefer. How much do you suffer, and for how long? in a similar sort of way. Way back in 1974, I completed a 3-year program at York University in Toronto that was a master's in environmental studies. It was 3 years of exposure to the catastrophe that is the world. 1974. One cannot turn on the news without observing that the world, the Buddha said this way back when, but it's true less metaphorically even now, the world is on fire. It's drowning and it's on fire. And every article that I read, almost every article, the fishermen in Mumbai can't find any fish, etc. My preference is that none of this be true. My preference is that psychopaths like Putin and all the others would wake up and stop being so psychopathic. My preference is that we would share. I really thought, the naivety of youth, I really thought that our generation was going to solve the problem of war and famine, and that we were going to share, because that's the only sensible thing. And I bring up these examples with a little trepidation, because when I finished that environmental studies program, I was really depressed, not just for the reasons of what I discovered about the world, but also my own I hadn't done any therapy yet and so on. But I was really an unhappy person. And I kept diving into it. But my preferences are not that the world would be doing, that civilization, that people would be doing what we're doing. But we are. And I really am glad that I can turn that off and find in my meditation pretty often a space of great ease and love and compassion, and that I can then live my relationships out more from that than I used to be able to. It doesn't mean I don't care, but I'm not full of angst all the time. And I'm able to be more loving. Actually, just this morning, one of my wandering minds was, there are some phenomena in my life that are pretty disappointing. Among them, I have chronic pain in my low back now. I went for a walk yesterday with Jennifer, and there's a loop we used to do regularly, a little over 2 miles. It's really too far now. I can do half of it, pause and stretch and so on. And I was taking such delight in the flowers yesterday. I had to stop. I'm the guy who used to carry somebody else's pack. Oh, it's only 2 more miles. I'll take your pack. It's only another 45 pounds. Big deal. But I'm a person now who has, and the fact that I can't walk very far is a small limitation compared to some that are likely coming. So how much do I want to, I will continue to get the steroid shots, and if surgery made sense, I'd probably jump at it. I'll do everything I can. But then once I've done what I can, and I'm walking down my street and my back's hurting, shall I suffer and be in resistance to it, or shall I choose this Dharma gate? This is the reality of my life. And how extraordinary my life is. Look at these, get a whiff of these wild roses. These are something else. And I think you could probably all relate to this. There's so many things. What I was thinking in the meditation this morning was, there's this practice of renunciation that the Buddha taught, and the words were, there's a level of whining in this consciousness that I'm choosing to give up when I can, because it doesn't help. Poor me, it's awful. These things are happening in my life, and they shouldn't be happening in my life. Well, why shouldn't they be happening in my life? One thing I've been noticing, there are so many people who limp. I never used to notice them much. Here's the tears. Just go shopping, and there's so many people who are limping through the world, and they're in pain. Good God. And I'm whining about mine. It's normal to have degenerative spine things at 75 years old. So that's where I really think it behooves me to stop whining. Oh, yes. Oh, right. It's going to be painful from here on in. That sort of pain, not that it's ever been painless, this body, but these limitations that are coming, they're real and they're normal. And I'll do everything I can medically to fight them off. And I'll even do some exercise sometimes, though I'm not good at that. And then, particularly, I will probably do it this morning. I'd like to, when we're done here, I like to go across my little room here and sit down in my recliner and spend half an hour and just go into acceptance. I may be feeling good about the morning broadcast, or I may be embarrassed about something, or I may be wondering, oh, was that okay? And did I respond to that well? And I like to just go and let all of it go. So that's a lot more than I thought I would say. Thanks for the question, Leanne. It's a fundamental, really beautiful question that I think we all have. I have.
Thank you.
Well, it's 8:15. Is anybody sitting with something that would be... Is identity a form of possession? We can be possessed by it, can't we? Oh, look, it's a long question. Comment. A costume of preferences I don't want equals I am. I think so. A conglomerate of cultural conditioning, desires, and endless longing to be seen as in service of this or resistance to that. What triggers preferences as a so-called object of choice in the first place? What else was going on when we first tasted chocolate? What was the name of those biscuit cookies given to children when we cried? Where do preferences come from? How do values hide behind the guise of preferences? Just some thoughts arising, powerful thoughts. Thanks, Robert. Mr. Birch.
Hi, Robert. This has been an incredible conversation, and I've been having an incredible side chat as well. And I just, and Birch's comments, what's been very helpful to me in looking at identity and preferences, and this comes out of my deep, still abiding anxiety with being alive, but to be able to attend to the sensations that come with the story of anxiety, or the sensations that come with the story of Dave, and to those things that anxiety, Dave, hatred that there are sensations that have a story of hatred to them, so that I'm able to sit with the sensations themselves and then watch the story arise. And the preferences come, for me anyway, when the story of Dave attaches to something and says, I hate that, I like that. And to watch that happen. That for me, what's been helpful is to look at the idea of story, that all of these conditionings, there's a historical narrative, it's a story. And that's been very helpful to me. The other thing which I wanted to post in the chat, which I hope you don't mind, Robert, because you mentioned loving kindness. From your 2016 Nelson retreat, there was this most sublime, beautiful, incredible loving kindness meditation. I've mentioned it to you before. It's almost, if it's possible to have a perfect loving kindness meditation, that was it. And I've just posted in the chat, it's in my Dropbox, and I hope you don't mind that I did that.
No, it's great.
I
just be sure, the royalties and all that come to the right place.
Yeah, I just encourage anyone to take that, put it in their iPod, and just, I keep it in my iPod by my bed. When I wake up anxious, I go sit with your anxiety, depression meditation or other things that I work with, and then come back to bed, and I just put that on a loop. And it's the most, I've actually quoted some of the end text of it to you before as just being beautiful, incredible. And I just encourage everybody to take a listen to it and have a lovely 45 minutes with it. Anyway, thank you.
I have something else popping to mind that I'll try to share with you. There's a mistranslation, a bad translation, a horrible translation, that the task of the meditator is to get rid of the ego. That's absurd. The ego is the organizing principle. It's a structure in consciousness that organizes to identity and place and time, and that modulates emotions coming through from the raw emotions, modulates them so that we can actually live with each other and be kind to each other. It's essential. And a lot of the development of meditation is the development of the ego, the ability to choose, the ability to watch what's happening, and then to choose what we feed and what we don't feed. And then there's this other piece, which is it's built into our language. There's a belief in an I, in a self. We say my awareness, my plan, my choosing, my this and that. And there's an utterly simple experiment, and I guess the point I'm trying to make is the truth of anatta is visible, brilliantly visible, the very first time we ever sit down to meditate. And it goes like this. I, Robert Beatty, for whatever reason, have encountered these teachings of the Buddha, and I am going to choose to be present with my breath. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be present with my breath for the next half hour. It lasts half a breath, 2 breaths, 10 breaths, maybe. And then, la, 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 la. The trance states come up. And they may come up for a second. They may come up for 5 minutes. They might come up for 6 months. And then, here I am sitting on my cushion. I am not there. I am lost. It is lost. There is a wandering mind. Maybe it's a wandering mind with resentment about this person or that person, or really hoping, looking forward to that vacation. I'm imagining myself on the beach. I'm doing all this. And then something happens, which is boink. aware. And that whole trance state is known for what it is, which is a dream. It's a fantasy. And then a very interesting thought pattern, and this is what the Buddha talked about. The need is to undermine and uproot this. He called it Sakya Diti, wrong view. It's an object relations function. And it says, oh, I just woke myself up. There's another wandering mind, another thought. I woke myself up. When in fact, no one woke anybody up. The awareness of the universe woke up. And there was a moment of what we would call enlightenment. There was a moment of freedom. And then we create theories. Now, why did that happen? And what's the origin of this? And what could I do about this? And what are the social ramifications about this? And then we're in another trance. But that, pardon me, that no one wakes us up. We don't wake ourselves up. We are that awakeness. We are that in which we take refuge. We are the Buddha. And funny, I'm having a memory. Many years ago, more than a decade, mindfulness was hardly known. And I used to do continuing education workshops for mental health professionals. In fact, I still get lots of referrals from therapists in town. I taught at least 300 to 500 therapists in Portland for at least a day or two on mindfulness. And when you teach it in that forum, you have to have learning objectives, right? Because you have to prove to their boards that it's worthy of doing. And my learning objective number one was, if some of the people in this group, or most of the people in this group, can have one moment of mindfulness, I will consider this a successful workshop. One moment of realizing, oh, it wakes itself up. Now there's the doorway to freedom. And choosing this Dharma gate is a training which gets us in the proximity of maybe it wakes up. And this could seem very abstract, but notice the next time you're sitting how the waking up happens by itself. We're really hampered by some difficult ideas, painful ideas that say, well, maybe when I'm good enough, maybe when I haven't had alcohol for X months, or when I haven't gotten angry, or maybe I've gone on this many long retreats, then maybe I'll have an enlightenment experience. And so we build this huge wall against realizing, oh, my goodness, it just happened. There was a trance state that I was embedded in, and here's awareness. It doesn't have an I to it at all. It's just awareness. And it's not flashy, it's just relief. And I can't make it happen. Because anytime there's I in it, it isn't that. This is the kind of talking that I know way back at the beginning of my teaching, I would get on a roll like this, and then I would have to go home and drink because I took up so much space, and because I was not in control of what I said, and maybe someone would be mad at me for taking up so much space, and that went on for some years. And fortunately, that's not the case now, but. You get in trouble if you start just being too big for your britches. Oh, it's the shame thing, right? Oh, no, God. Here's this person on the screen that I really admire and respect, and I think maybe they're not liking what I'm saying. I should stop. And what's the cure for that? It's not analysis of it. It's just, oh, there's that. Yeah, there's that. Thank you for sharing. Oh, David, I had a thought. You know that anxiety that hangs around with you? It's probably not going to go away. But as you know, it's going to become less and less convincing. Like, oh, there's the anxiety. Oh, shit, I don't like it. Oh, well, now what's next? And I mean, you've done such extraordinary healing and opening to that. And of course, it will continue. The momentum that's there for you relinquishing identification with that is just huge. You're like a D9 tractor. Really. I mean, and this neurotic mind, oh man, it's so, and in the depression the other morning, there was so much identification with it. I almost picked a fight with Jen. We could have had a bad fight that morning. Unfortunately, I bit my tongue and went and sat. It's the difference between my life and this marriage are full of so many disappointments. I have to do something about it. I have to blow it up or do something. That versus, oh, right, there's quite a few disappointments. Now, what am I doing today? Right? I think I need some breakfast. It's weird. Totally insane. Well, I need to go. It's 8:30. Thank you for staying and participating, and I really love being with you.
Feelings mutual.
Shall we sing a song? Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a lovely day, folks. May we all stay on the saner side of the sanity-insanity spectrum. All right, here we go. Goodbye, friends on